All right, as promised, here's what the Wall Street Journal said in a editorial slash master troll of Donald Trump. Quote, "The trouble with trade wars is that once they begin, they can quickly escalate and get out of control. All the more so when politicians are nearing an election campaign, as Canada now is, or when Mr. Trump behaves as if his manhood is implicated because a foreign nation won't take his nasty border taxes lying down. We said from the beginning that this North American trade war is the dumbest in history, and we were being kind."
Well, as Sue pointed out earlier, it is not clear what the objective of any of this is, other than the fact that Trump himself is personally enamored with tariffs, and perhaps the fact that the advisors who are guiding him on trade policy used to work in the steel industry, which, by the way, is the industry that is being protected, or whose honor is being protected in service of, you know, picking these wars, these trade wars with our friends and allies, including Canada and Mexico. But there's no clear objective here. Trump hasn't been consistent, at the very least, about whether he wants some kind of concessions on fentanyl, which, as Sue mentioned, there isn't really a fentanyl problem with Canada. Arguably, there is quite a bad one with Mexico. Is it about that? Is it about immigration? Is it about something else? Ostensibly, these things are grounded, the steel and aluminum tariffs are grounded in national security concerns. I'm not sure how the president's ego became a critical national security concern. But it's really difficult for any of these countries to figure out how to deal with him, because how do you negotiate with someone who doesn't know what they want?
Well, I mean, Sue, I feel like we've been having this conversation for 9 years. It's what Bill Barr called bullshit. It's all made up. There is no point. There is no objective. There is no fentanyl that comes from Canada here. I mean, it's a minuscule amount. So it's not what they say it's about. It's not about what they say it's about. It's about what Canadians feel like it's about. It's about being bullied.
Right. No.
You know, so in terms of how does it end? I mean, you know, call in a shrink or a hostage negotiator, and it sounds like that's the kind of footing Canada's getting on.
Right. And one thing I want to point out that I don't know if everybody knows, you know, there's talk of tariffs, but in Canada, it is so much more than that, even now for American companies. Whatever's being hit with the tariff, there are U.S. goods just coming off the shelf. There are no sales. And for, you know, just alcohol is just an obvious one. There are other goods, but the shelves are empty. And that is just crushing to a number of American industries. So, I mean, Canada I talk to my friends up there and my family, and not only are they probably not going to maybe ever travel again to the United States, at least for a long time, they are trying to find any good they can that is Canadian. Canadian manufacturers are putting Made in Canada stickers on everything just to make it even easier. And then the other thing that's going on that's just, and it's playing in the background, some people may have heard about it, but now Canadians coming over the border on cars via land, if they stay more than 30 days, they are being told now, and there's been some communication between the U.S. and the Canadian government, that they have to, when they come in, they have to register and be fingerprinted. Like, it just goes back to the question of what is going on here. I don't quite know what the aim is. Is it Canadian sovereignty? Is it the annexation of part of it? Is it an agreement on mineral rights, you know, similar to maybe what Trump was talking to Zelensky in the Ukraine about? You don't know, but I sort of don't blame a lot of people in Canada, including the incoming prime minister, of being concerned that it is about the sovereignty of their nation.
Well, and that's what Trump is saying on phone calls and on social media.
He's saying it out loud.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I guess what I want to ask you is, where does the business community think we are if Trump, the narcissist's mirror, no longer includes the stock market?
It's a very challenging place, I think, for the business world to be. For a long time, I had personally assumed that one of the few firewalls against Trump's destructive and erratic behavior, at least some of it, would be the private sector, right? Because they wanted to protect their own bottom line. Maybe they don't care about some of the horrible things that he's doing, but rule of law is very good for the business environment. Property rights, very good for the business environment. Predictable pricing, regulation, things like that. Also good for the business environment. But it's not even clear that they're willing to stand up. There was a story in the Wall Street Journal today about a recent gathering of CEOs at Yale, in which the CEOs were just kind of asked to do a passing poll on how much would the stock market need to fall before they would stand up and criticize Donald Trump. And more than half of them said 20% or higher. Right? They have a fiduciary duty to their shareholders to protect the value of their stock prices. And despite all of that, they are still unwilling to criticize the president, who is personally responsible for much of the decline in stock prices. So if Trump doesn't care about the stock market decline, if executives don't really speak up despite stock market declines, I don't know where we are.